Hi, everyone. It's Miss Hakvari in the library. It's the last Friday in February, and I wanted to share one more advisory with you around Black History Month. Today, we're going to spend a little bit of time highlighting some authors for Black History Month. And you may have heard me talk about this before, but using these observance months is a really good time to think of the idea of books as windows and mirrors. So some of these books will be showing us a window to a new experience, a life that maybe looks slightly different than ours. Some of these books, for some of us, may be reflecting our life right back to us. And both of those things are really important. We need to read things that highlight our experiences so we feel included, so we see ourselves represented in what we read. But we also need to have the chance to learn from people that are different from us. So this is a chance to do that. So, I'm going to share a few authors with you. These are all authors that write for young adults. They are authors that have books in our library and have maybe even some books that you recognize. So, the first author is Nic Stone. She has several different books, both at the junior high and at the high school. You may have seen these before in our library. What I love about Nic Stone is she writes a lot of different styles and genres. So her first book that really was important and was pretty famous is Dear Martin. And that's about a young man who kind of develops an imaginary relationship. He writes letters to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. as kind of a way to journal his thoughts and maybe solve some problems that he sees. Nic Stone has also written some sports books. So she has a character who's a softball player. It's called Fast Pitch. She has written lots of other books that are in our teen and issues section. She's also started a series that ties into the movie Black Panther, and that's a young Shuri, so the younger sister of the Black Panther character. So if you like superheroes, you would definitely love Nic Stone's books. If you like realistic issues, you'll definitely also like Nic Stone's books. I highly recommend you give him a chance. Another Black author that we have in our library who's written several books for folks our age is Jewel Parker Rhodes. She actually has her doctorate. She has written things for people of all ages. She does a lot of speaking tours and engagements. But one of the books that she has is Towers Falling, and that is about 9/11. Another book she has is called Black Brother, two twins who go to the same school but have very different experiences because of the color of their skin. Their skin colors are slightly different, and it really impacts the things they go through at school. And then another book that she has that I know some of you maybe have even read for book club is Ghost Boys. And that book is fascinating to me because it's actually the main character is actually dead. And he kind of goes through what his history, what his ancestors maybe have learned. It's just a really fascinating story. Kwame Alexander is another author that a lot of us probably know. You may know his book Crossover or Booked. He has a lot of books in our library. He's written picture books, he's written nonfiction books, he does all kinds of things. Another book that he has in our library is called Solo, and that's maybe a little bit more young adult book. It's a high school student who's going through some issues with his family. It's a really good book. It's also written in verse, like a lot of books of his are. And then his latest book that we have in our library is at the top of our screen here. It's called The Door of No Return. And this book is actually set in Africa a few hundred years ago. And it follows a young man from his home to being abducted and then actually sent away from Africa on a slave ship. So it's a really wonderful book, but also really heavy and sad book as well. Kwame Mbalia is another author we have in our library. He's relatively new to writing books. One of my favorite books that he's written is called Tristan Strong Punches a Hole in the Sky. And this is by the same company that does the Percy Jackson books. It is a mythology story, but it's mythology that maybe a lot of us don't know about. So it's African mythology. You meet African mythological characters as well as African American. So kind of characters maybe from the last couple hundred years that are important to African American culture. He has a collection of stories, short stories called Black Boy Joy. So if you like shorter stories, that might be a good book for you. And then his latest book, Last Gate of the Emperor, is actually a sci-fi book. So if you like kind of space travel, those imaginary worlds, that would be a great book for you. And then Jacqueline Woodson is an author that a lot of us know. She's written a ton of books for middle grade and junior high and even early high school students. And a lot of them are realistic fiction. So Harbor Me is a book that some of you had a chance to read as a book club book, but it's about a group of students who end up in a class together and kind of the issues that they're going through in their lives, and kind of the choices they make and how they navigate that together. Another book, Before the Ever After, is in our sports section. This book is really interesting and really kind of sad also in a way, because the main character, his dad, is a former football player and is starting to see the effects of the concussions and the brain injuries, the CTE that he had. And then finally, Jacqueline Woodson's probably most famous, most award winning book is her autobiography called Brown Girl Dreaming. And so if you ever wondered, what is it like as an author growing up? How do people know that they want to be writers? What is it like? Um, kind of becoming that person, she does an amazing job of sharing her own experience through her book, Brown Girl Dreaming. So, junior high, I hope you enjoy some of these books, hearing about these authors. We have a display in the library that you can check out and see what else might look good to you. We also there have some signs with a little more information about these authors, as well as a list of other Black authors in our library. So I hope you take a little bit of time to check those out and read as a way to celebrate Black History Month.